I'm going to start. So, hello, everyone. Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, onde quer que nos estejam a ver. Bem-vindos e bem-vindas a mais um seminário de Cultura Material da Ciência, um espaço aqui no YouTube, no canal YouTube do Museu Nacional de História Natural e da Ciência da Universidade de Lisboa, em que descobrimos gente fantástica que tem um trabalho absolutamente notável, que merece ser ouvido, conhecido, divulgado, e é isso que fazemos aqui todos os meses, tipicamente à última segunda-feira de cada mês, por volta das 5 da tarde de Lisboa. O meu nome é Marta Lourenço, sou a diretora do museu, e hoje é um prazer enorme termos connosco uma investigadora de origem espanhola, mas que neste momento até está na Turquia, em Istambul, que isto é fantásticas características e qualidades das redes sociais, e vai falar connosco sobre o trabalho que tem vindo a fazer sobre mulheres na ciência e também outras coisas. Eu vou passar, nós concordámos, com o meu espanhol é péssimo, e como o português da Mar também não é bom, nós decidimos aqui um consenso, chegámos a um consenso e vamos conversar em inglês. Portanto, peço desculpa para as pessoas que estavam à espera de uma conversa em português ou em espanhol, mas é a vida. Por acaso, you know what we could do, Mar?
What?
Because in English, the translation works fine. Let's just put it on.
The subtitles or...
The subtitles, yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know where it is. I'm going to introduce you and then I'm going to look for the subtitles while you speak. So we have today Marta Rivera, Colomer. She's a physicist by training, but she has 2 masters, okay? Not one, but 2 masters. One in teachers training about mathematics, and another, which is really how we met, I think, about the history of science and science communication at the Lopes Pinheiro Inter-University Institute in Valencia. And she did a final dissertation about commemorations, especially commemorations about women and girls in science. Her research interests covered many different things, from history of science to material culture of science, particularly physics, science communication, and also gender studies. She is the creator of the interview series Ciència project, a terrific work that we will talk more about it, and which is hosted by the Societat Catalana de História de la Ciència y de la Tècnica. And it's basically an initiative of online interviews to international women historians that aims to reflect, problematize on the daily life and on the collective role of women in science and the history of science. I think that from her work, she's already one of our European top experts in women in science, a research that is very interesting, needed, but also complex with many layers. So, Mar, thank you so much. It's a privilege to be talking to you. It's funny because you were just interviewing me, I don't know, a week ago, or not even maybe. And now it's the other way around. We swap places, so it's lots of fun, and it's really a delight to be with you. Thank you so much for accepting this invitation, and tell us a little bit about you. How does Mar, a physicist, come to the point where you are now, interested in so many things, but at the same time not losing focus, because you have a focus, and I can tell that. So tell us a little bit. How did you come to the point you are now?
I think that it's a long way, but I think it really starts really early, because till I was young, I was really interested on science. So I think that you always, when you are good on science, you know this pressure of the family and teachers telling you like, you need to do some scientific stuff, let's go for physics, let's go for engineers and these kind of things. And then I was realizing like, okay, but I'm really interested in history or philosophy. But at the same time, they say, well, maybe you can do it later. First, it's more important science. So I was always like this discussion in my mind, like, I don't know what to do. So finally I go to physics because I thought that it will be, I don't know, maybe more satisfying for what was expecting for me. So in the physics degree, I learned a lot. I learned a lot of how to solve problems, how to, I don't know, to face like many problems and struggles. But at the same time, I really realized that something was missing. So I started to participate like really actively to the students' assembly in my faculty in the University of Barcelona. And I could say that there is where my training as feminist and activism started. And it was really nice because we did a lot of work.
This was when, more or less? When was that, more or less?
Like, I don't know, like maybe 8 years ago, like during my
10 years ago.
Yes, okay. Like when my first year started in physics, then I started also in the students' assembly.
Was there a lot of women in your course in physics, or was it more men?
No, the first year I would say that it will be like 50%. But okay. I also think it's really interesting because I was doing my course in the evenings, not in the mornings, because it was depending on the grades. And then you see much women in the morning lessons, but in the evenings, there was like much men. Like, yes, yeah. Maybe in my class, we are like 20% women and the rest are men. But if you go to the morning, maybe you can see like 60 or 70% women and less men. But
so the night studies is for workers, student workers and stuff like that.
I think so. Or maybe people, I don't know, coming from another degree or something like that, because it depends on the grade. So I think that the last that matriculate, normally we go on the evening. So I think it was also interesting because the profiles of people were really different. Like there are people coming from philosophy, people coming from who was working in a institute for in a high school for many years.
For teaching, So
it was really nice. But you also realize that when the courses, the following courses, much of these people abandon the degree. So I also think that many women just stayed like the first maybe 1 or 2 years, and then they realize that maybe it's not her place. Because really, for me, I really think that I finished physics because I was part of the assembly, and I have like a group of women that really we really support each other. Yes. And I think that you really need it because you are like the focus all the time, because the men, they know exactly who you are, because maybe there are like just few women, and sometimes it's hard. And
it shows. You show. Even if you want to become invisible, you can't. You can't. Invisible.
You can. So sometimes it's difficult, and sometimes also like the teachers. I remember that the first year it was really shocked because I don't know, like the classes were very big, like maybe 80 persons, and then the teacher say, okay, go in front and let's solve this problem. And then the teacher maybe just put your hand here and say, do you need help, darling?
Yeah.
It's like, come on, you are not doing that to anyone else. And maybe I'm confused. I don't know how to solve this problem. Come on, it's my first year. It's not a problem because I'm a woman. It's because it's my first year.
Because you don't know enough yet, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand that. That's interesting. And the teachers, the professors, were they more men or more women?
Men. Totally men.
Totally. 100% men.
Maybe 95% men. And you really appreciate and you really notice when you have a woman teacher. You really appreciate. And you now I'm realizing that when I have had a teacher in the class, then I really try to get closer to her, like to ask more things. And like have like a more close relationship than when it was a man. Because
and did you notice, was it more in, okay, we could go on forever about this, but was it more in electronics or condensed matter? Where did you have the quantum physics? What was the female teacher? Was it of what?
The female teacher, most of them were astronomy teachers.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Astronomy. And I could say, for example, my first year, I have 0 female teachers. My first year was full men teaching.
Always men.
Yes, and then when you continue advancing, then you will see women. But I think maybe I also look for this woman, because then you start choosing some optative, and then you can choose the teacher. And I think that I always have like this predisposition to choose a female teacher. So maybe that's why I found like more women. And I also like, there are a lot of women in the laboratory.
Technicians.
Yes, because I think that most of them are PhD, they are doing the PhD or postdocs.
Students.
Students
and postdocs. So, and but okay, so you think that you created there was at the University of Barcelona some support net of activism and women coming together collectively to support each other. And you think that, you were saying that helped you. In what way? Did you get along? Did you do things together? How did it work?
I think in many ways. I think that for me, the most important thing is that we met nearly like every day, and we maybe eat together, we share our experience. We were not just people from the first year. There are people from maybe ending the degree, so they can help you, like maybe sharing the notes or maybe giving some advice about this teacher or the other one. And it was really nice. And we also learn a lot, because we try to organize like a lot of seminars or talks or watching films. And then we try always to find like this social part of the science, which was not easy because no one teaches. So it was like kind of learn by doing. Like, for example, when it was the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, I remember that we changed the name of all the class and we put like names of women. But now I'm thinking,
you did that? That's amazing. That's amazing.
But then you realize that we also were reproducing some kind of I don't know, gender and stereotypes, like using always like Marie Curie, Ada Lovelace, like the famous figures, like the same icons. And we were even not thinking about it, but we were like so happy just learning about other things, or I don't know. It was really nice. I was really
but it was important for you because later you became interested in history of science. And first you did the other masters. Obviously you were not interested in that, because then you did another on history of science, and that's where you really found your place, right?
Yes, completely.
You found your place, and that's where your imagination, inspiration came about, because you do so much apart from the masters, and but at the same time always interested in this dimension of science, which is on the one hand the balance between gender and why does it come about and why is it like that and what can change, but also the communication of science. So you're very interested in finding ways to communicate science to other people and to reach beyond your niche, right? So tell me a little bit about the change, the move from physics to, forget about the other masters, doesn't matter, but the history of science, where you are now in the field of history of science. Tell me why.
I think it was because of gender. At the beginning, I was thinking that I want to do something related with physics and gender, but I was thinking more something to do some research maybe on quantitative, like talk about ratios, men, women, where the women are not finishing their career, like the scissor effects and these kind of things. But then I started the master, and I remember like the first class of history of science, it was like, poof, it burst my mind. It was like, come on, there's a completely new perspective that no one ever told.
And by the way, the masters you did is one of the best in Europe. Okay, people, Valencia is one of the best masters, the best postgraduate studies in history of science for many years now. Okay, is Valencia one of the best? So it's not by chance that you get, familiar with all these problematics. It's not traditional history of science. The teachers are fantastic. They're really good researchers. They have very good international connections. And so it's a great course. It's a great course. And it impressed you.
Yeah, and I think that they also give you a lot of freedom. Like all the time I can choose my master thesis. I want to do this. Maybe my supervisor is not an expert on the topic. But then they say, go ahead, you can do it. You can
do it.
Now you will be the expert, not me. So let's see how it works, and I will help with other things. And I don't know, I am doing I'm participating in many international congress or trainership, like having a lot of experience, because that's the only problem of the master, I think, is that for me, it is really difficult because I get interested in many topics. So I don't know how to choose. So I want to do many things.
Fine. That's fine, that's fine. Because there's so many. And life's too short. So if you specialize just in your small, 18th century, from, I don't know, from 1772 to 1776, the development of the astrolabe in Spain, like you're the top expert in this. I mean, okay, fine. It's all valid. But at the same time, I mean, come on, it's amazing. And contemporary science too. So the 20th century, everything, so many things, the history of meteorology, there's so many studies that are understudied, and so I totally understand you. Totally understand you. I never tried.
And then you met someone, I don't know, it happens to me all the time when I'm doing the interviews of Ciència, I'm meeting someone, they are talking about their work, and I say, oh my God, it's really interesting, so fantastic. I want to go for it, and then another one. So I think it's really nice to have the opportunity to experience all these things.
And especially meet people, and go around and visit like you do. I think you're great at that. You're doing it fine. Tell me, so fem science. So Ciència, it started, you already did, I don't know, some 20 interviews. I will put the link below the video so that people can go there and explore the different women that have been interviewed. I think the last was me, was it? The last.
Yes.
Okay. But there are some of my heroes. So it was great to see the website. And you started in 2021. So I imagine that the idea of doing interviews and oral history, oral memory, you will tell me what it is, because I don't know, but it was at least triggered by the pandemic, wasn't it? I mean, we were home, we could not, get in touch with colleagues, and everyone became super technicians about YouTube and and Zoom and everything. How did it come about, this idea to have this series of interviews?
Actually, it was during pandemic. It was like the year that I was doing the master, and then we have to do like a internship. We have to do obligatory internship or trainership in some enterprise. So at that time I was living in Canary Island because I really love them. So I was thinking okay, what can I do here in the Canary Islands, because I was planning to go to the Science Museum there, but then it closed because of pandemic. And then I was talking with Josep Simon and Ignacio Suay, which were like the two most close. Yes.
Friends.
Yes, and they proposed me
Ignacio Sway, I was recently with him in, imagine, Lithuania.
Yes,
Imagine.
I really, do you know that I never met him in person, just virtually?
No.
Yes,
He's
like
the kindest, the most generous, the sweetest, and also knowledgeable, incredibly knowledgeable and active person I've met. He's fantastic. You must meet him.
Yes, I should. Yes. But then they proposed me this option to do like online interviews for la Societat Catalana d'Història, la Ciència, la Tècnica, and I said yes. But then I have like this at the same time, like the feeling that it was a kind of purple washing, because it was and they want to commemorate like the International Day of Women, the International Day of, and it was like, okay, I will be a little bit disappointed if it just stay like that I'm doing like some interviews and then it's finished. But I was really lucky because it works really good. And then they offered me to do like a second season remunerated. So they pay me for doing the second season and now the third one.
That's fantastic.
So I'm really happy. And it really changed. Like at the beginning, I remember that I had no idea who to interview.
And not only that, you didn't have the contacts because you were just, finishing your master's. So you're a student. And this is very important. Students who are listening to this, the fact that you don't know people, it shouldn't stop you. Just write to people, write to the people you like, and most likely they will answer back and they will, give all the strength and all the support that I'm sure, because they was it like that? You just had an idea of the people you wanted to interview and contacted them, or how did it go at the beginning, at the very beginning?
At the very beginning, no, because we thought that it would be like in a Catalan context. So I was looking like in the Catalan context, like woman in history of science, and try to find out. But then
Googling.
Googling, but without any idea. But then they suggest me like a really long list of women, and then I select like, okay, I like this one, I like this one, but
exactly.
A personal thing, like I have like I don't know, something that interests from
but
someone.
Was it you women historians or women scientists? Because there's
historians. It's historians. I think it's really important from the Ciència that it's women's historians or sociologists or philosophers. But I don't want to interview like women in scientific women, because I think that there are like more initiative about this topic, like interviewing women in science.
You're right. There's women biologists, women physicists, women astronomers. In fact, it's kind of a fashionable topic now. But not so much women in history. Because probably because I don't know if you thought about that. I'm sure you thought about that, because you've thought about so many things in this topic, but maybe because they think, well, in history, there's more women, so it's not a problem. The problem is that in history, historians come usually from the sciences, right? They don't come from history. Well, they may, but I don't know, like the majority comes, it's physicists who then does history, or biologists who then does history. So it's not historians where they're probably more women. I don't know, but there's a problem here probably.
And I also think that it was important. I also want to continue with these historians or sociologists of science, because I really, for example, my mom is a scientist, so she was like saying, but because you are not interviewing me, I'm really famous in leukemia. And I was like, no, mom, but I really want to show the people like the history of science and the importance, because when you try, when you try to explain to her why it's important, the history of science, that we should question this objectivity of science and all these things, it's really, she really don't understand, or it's really hard to make that.
It's hard because they don't learn, well, medicine maybe, I think more, it's better now. It's better now.
It's better, yes.
It's better. But usually the courses that are given on history to the science school, future scientists, are usually very traditional, in the sense like a linear evolution of developments that culminate in the present day and so on, and like very much a succession of glories. So they don't get the problematics of history, really, and the social dimension and the economic dimension, political dimension of history. But anyway, so tell me more about I think that you have some images to show us.
Yeah, but if you prefer, we can continue like that, because I don't have anything to show about FemCiencia, like just the logo of FemCiencia. So
no, okay. Sure. So let's continue a little bit about FemCiencia.
Yes.
Because I'm curious about another thing. So how do you prepare? Look, I also do interview. Well, I don't do interviews. I just do conversations like this. It's quite chaotic. Okay, I don't have any script. I don't know, I learn a little bit about the person I'm interviewing, and I choose them because I know the person and I think that she's great or he's great. It's not complicated for me, but you do it seriously. You do a proper interview. So how do you prepare yourself for the interview? Do you have a script with all the same questions? Is it open questions? Is it closed questions? Do you adapt the questions to the person that you are going to be interviewing? Or how is it? How does it work? Or how does it work? Did it change? At the beginning you did something and then you did something else. I think this is important because it's a tool, the interview. It's a tool that, social sciences use a lot, but historians don't use a lot, And so it's difficult sometimes. How do I complicated? Do I manage this? So it would be very nice to hear your experience, methodological experience this time.
I think it changed a lot depending on who I am interviewing. And for example, if I saw someone really comfortable, like just talking, and they don't want the interviews for the questions for advance, then I think that I try to do more like a conversation, but at the same time, sometimes it's difficult because then I realize that it takes so long time. Yeah. Like at the beginning, I was doing like that. At sometimes I spent like 3 hours talking with someone. And after that, it was like a problem for editing. And now I'm trying to fit and control more the time.
Because the questions helps you and the interviewee discipline, kind of stick to, okay, you have these points, you have to cover them. And so you're more aware of the time passing. So it's better. Yeah.
Yes, but I really think that it's important to have like open questions, because sometimes the person who you are interviewing are telling something that suddenly you find, oh, it's really interesting. I really want to know more about that. And then you don't need to stuck to the initial plan. Like, I need to follow like my interview and I'm not going to say anything else. So I think it's also important to be kind of a little bit flexible.
Yeah,
but yes,
and also ask questions that are not scripted, right? So you really, the person said something really interesting, and you don't want to go to the next question. You want to ask her more about the topic, and so you are flexible enough to ask something or to develop a point.
Yeah, but I also think that another thing to have in mind is the language. Because, for example, when I interview someone in Catalan or Spanish and the other person is also their mother language.
In your native language.
Then it's easier and these people feel more comfortable. And now I'm realizing, because this last season has been all international, and I am doing the interviews in English, which for me, maybe now it's not a problem, but for some of the women that I interview, it is. So sometimes it's difficult because you really want them to make them comfortable and that they can express themselves, but at the same time they are like so fixed, like I want to answer this because I don't know what else to say if I'm not prepared in English. So sometimes I'm wondering, like, I should maybe interview people who feel more comfortable talking in English or Spanish, because sometimes I think that the message.
There's all these things to ponder, to measure. It's complicated. But if you give them the questions in advance, they can prepare. They can even write a short paragraph. So it makes them feel more comfortable, I suppose.
Yes, that's the thing. If they need it, I send it beforehand. But at the same point, sometimes I think that it's less spontaneous, and I really like to see like someone thinking and changing the mind. Like, no, I want to. I don't know if you.
Oh no! no, forget that. I didn't mean that, and so on. That kind of thing, like
Yes.
thinking on the spot.
Yes, I think that sometimes it's more natural, and it's more like they are saying things that maybe are not so appropriated. But I really think that that's the question, because normally when we talk about this topic, we try to be like really correct because we don't want to offend anyone. We want
you're
to
right,
be
because it's
like
one of the
include the
sensitive.
woman. Yes. Like
It's
be
one of the
sensitive. And I think it's really important that the people feel comfortable and can talk. And if someone offends, so it's his problem, not our problem, because we are talking about that, and we have our rights to talk about anything.
And did you have any situation in the 20 interviews where you thought, okay, now this is going to be, you didn't say anything, okay, but you thought, this is going to be really offensive? Did you think about that? Was there...
Sometimes I expect that it should be more offensive. Like I really want the people to say like things that make the people think and make the people confront with this idea, because maybe it's something.
It's not offensive. It's something that makes you think. Provocative. It makes you think. So it's more in that sense that you mean. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And sometimes when it happens, I'm like really happy. Like, yes, I want to continue like that. Yes, but at the same time,
you have the soul of a journalist. You know, you want the title headline. You know, like a shocking headline. That's what you want.
No. Yeah, but sometimes I also worried because I'm the one who did the interview. So sometimes I'm thinking like, okay, I am selecting the piece that I like most.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a kind of bias there. Of course there are, but it's okay. Like everything has a bias. So I just need to be conscious of that. And that. But at the beginning, I really thought about it. I really share like with Ignacio.
But did you read literature about...
Yes, I read literature.
Interviews and how to develop, or how to edit and how to cut and what to select and how to make how many questions and did you read?
Yes, I read articles, but there's another thing that I want to say, that sometimes it's really difficult to find open access articles. So sometimes you just find like maybe 1 or 2 articles or 3 articles. If someone is really well known, yes. But if not, sometimes it's really hard to find articles about these people. And I think that it's also a problem because you cannot document it specifically. You are just maybe focused on one topic or one of her research, not the whole.
Sure.
And yes, but then I research, then I write like a list of questions. Normally I share with Ignacio, and we decide like maybe we can do like this one, or maybe we can put these two together. I really like to have like someone else who can share and
to talk about it, right?
Because I really think it's really necessary, and it's a thing that if Ciència continue in the future, I would really like to be like a collective project or initiative, not just me.
Where people could upload, they would do, somebody would do other interviews and so on.
Yes, I really think so. And I really encourage people, if someone is thinking to do an interview or anything, it's really easy to learn. And there are a lot of open access tools, because I don't know, so you can really learn by yourself. And for me, it was the first interview that I did, and with Ciència, and it's not bad. So
no, it's not bad. You're a great interviewer. But I think that, look, it's not so much about it's training, okay? Yes, of course, we're reading the literature, and you get better with practice, sure. But there's something that I find amazing about you, which is you have a natural curiosity about the topic, and that shows. So you really want to, you want people to answer the questions because you're curious about what they have to say, and I find that precious, because you can tell when somebody is really, really well trained and read all the articles and all the methods and oral history and oral memory and all that, but the person is not. It's like a kind of a machine asking the questions. And you're not. You're vivid. You're interesting. It's fun. I think it should be fun anyway.
Yes, I really like, it's the thing that I have so much fun doing these interviews, and I learn a lot, and I have like so many opportunities after doing these interviews, because I met like a lot of exceptional women.
Met incredible women, and you met incredible women.
And it's kind of network. Yes, I'm creating like a kind of network with other women around the world, and they are like, come on, let's go. If someday you are coming here to Mexico, you can come and we can do this. And if you please come, I really want to meet you. And I think it's really, really, really important, and it's really nice to have like this space or this place where you can talk with other women, you can talk about her work, but also in maybe asking another questions or like thinking in other things. I think it's really, 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 really important. Yes.
Okay, so let's go to the difficult questions now about women. Okay, so do you think, did you learn, or did you already think, or what is your view? Is there a feminine way of doing history of science, you think?
I think the woman, we could talk about maybe women's culture. Like we have like I don't know, like many things, like our context, our experience, most of the times are completely different of the men, because we have a pressure, we have oppression, we have like a way of relation between us or between other men completely different of them. So I think that we can talk about that there are a women's culture, and it probably makes us doing science and history of science completely different. And
in what ways?
I don't know, maybe the way that we organize or we organize or we create the knowledge, and the way that maybe we are asking questions, or the way that we are trying to solve these questions. I think that it's highly influenced because of science and the male science, because we try to reproduce all the time this process. Like when you are trying to do a research, of course you are most of the times like falling and reproducing something that you have learned
and
before.
You learn how to be a male scientist.
A male scientist.
You're reproducing the techniques, the ways, the tacit knowledge, you're reproducing. So what space is there? Well, of course, women are not a monolith, right? So
no, of course
me and
not.
you are different, but it's that we share, there's a common shared experience at a certain generation. I think that my generation is different from your generation, for example. So there is this generation thing, and yours is better than mine. I definitely think so, because when I did physics in the 80s, I also did physics. But I think there were like 3 women.
Wow.
So it was very different. But it also has so much to do with the personality. I was very out, I was never, nobody, no man ever, told me what to do, basically. So there's a bit, that's why I say, okay, it's true, we have the experiences, but then we also have our heritage of how we react to the experiences. And
yes, like the strategies that we have developed, like for all these struggles and how we manage it. It doesn't mean that it has to be like,
no, or suffering or victimization.
No,
absolutely
of course not.
But absolutely
but I really think that I don't know. I think that also most of the time, I don't want to talk like in general, like the real truth. No, of course not. But I think in most of the case, women really are more conscious about about the place that they are creating the knowledge, like this situated knowledge. We are more conscious about that, and we talk about it, and I think it's really necessary, and I think that it makes like approach to science, or we create like our own science. I don't know, but yes.
You think that it's more a way of doing knowledge, or it's more the knowledge itself that can be like, like it's more the content or the, it's more the content or the process?
I would say the knowledge itself, but sometimes it's easier to explain like the context or the practices. Sometimes it's more easy to talk about that than to talk about the knowledge itself. But I really think that, yes. Yeah, but it's a difficult question.
Yeah, it's difficult. I don't know the answer either.
No,
but we don't care. By the way, if anyone listening knows the answer, please write it down on the comments. Yes. We would love to. I forgot to say that you can always write down comments, and we will answer. And if you're seeing this after it was transmitted, you can also write down the comments, because we will forward the questions to Marta. But it's super tricky.
It's super tricky.
And how do you study it? Because it's also, okay, I know nothing about it. It's a big thing. There's big, it's big already, not from recent. Women's studies. I remember Margaret Lopes in Brazil did wonderful studies. But by the way, it's someone you need to interview. It's absolutely someone you need to interview. Historian of science, Margaret Lopes, Brazilian. But she stayed many times here at the museum and at the University of Évora, and she is a scholar of women's studies. So I think it would be very nice to, because usually you're asking only normal historians, women historians, but this is a historian of science who specializes in women. So it's going to be great for you. Yes. And I'll put you in touch with Margaret Lopes.
Oh,
but
yes.
So it's a field that comes a long way. Did you also study, apart from the part of the interviews, did you also study a little bit about that, women's studies in history of science? Did you?
Yeah. Like for me, it completely changed my perception of history of science. Like when I read like Sandra Harding, Donna Haraway, all these classics, like my mind was like, come on, I changed all my questions, like all my approach, like completely changed. I really want to.
Give me an example. Give me so for younger students now who are, give me an example of something that completely clashed your stereotypes,
For me, this idea of the objectivity of the science, that it's really related to the domination. The objectivity is really related to the domination of male to women. So it really, for me, it's really important to question and criticize like this objectivity that still nowadays we have. And when we ask someone, what is science?
Wait. You're saying that there is a stereotype saying that men are more objective than women. Women are more sensitive. So that's the idea, the kind of parallel.
Yes, that's the idea.
Women are poetic and sensitive and blah, blah, blah. And men are objective and rational. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but also that science should be objective. This idea that the aim of the science is to be objective, I think that it's not like that. It's not like that. It's not an attribute that science has to be. It's an attribute that needs to be a question of science, because this attribute it's really related with domination, male thing. So we really need to think about that. And also history of science, sometimes we try to be like really objective, and how should be the history? Objective, of course. No, it's not. We need to talk about situated knowledge. We need to talk about different perspective, about context, not just actor, not just author and the book or the work of these men. We need to talk about object. We need to understand that maybe science needs to be resignified, and maybe we need to have like a more broad concept of science, because now when we talk about science, maybe we are not taking into account the knowledge of many women who work in their house or work in the forest, knowing some traditional or cultural
knowledge, right?
Yes.
Traditional knowledge.
Yes. So this knowledge should also to be included in science, or maybe we need to find another way, but we need to put it at the same place or the same importance. Because, for example, when we are talking about technology. We were thinking about, I don't know, like cars or planes or really big things, trains or bridge, but we are not thinking maybe in this all domestic technology. And when we think about domestic technology, we think in a way like subordinate, like in a less important way. And
less valued, less recognized by society.
Yes, and for example, when we are talking about women in science and we are thinking about this brilliant mind, we always reproduce this success scheme. Like the one who is doing science need to be brilliant, need to be intelligent, need to be like a genius. And this is the idea that we should change, or we should question, we should talk about the question, we should talk about many women or men that they don't finish and it's okay. And
like, how do you think it could be correct? Did you think about how that could be corrected? Is it more philosophy courses for physicists? Is it more history, or is it how do we raise awareness to scientists? Well, among society, that's another problem, but among scientists,
if it's not, my perfect answer should be that we should start talk about that when we are like really childs, because it's a thing that really builds our collective memory and our culture, our scientific imagination and all of that. But if it's not possible, if it's like now that it's a reality that it's not true and we just can apply this to the science, I think like philosophy or history of science courses should be like really important till the first course. Because really, they can encourage. If someone at my first year of physics told me about all of this, really, I will not.
And also more role models, right? We need role models for girls, for example. We need in history to do more research and recuperate, the hidden. One of these days, I was looking into our collections of photography. Here at the museum, it's colonial photography. And of course, it's only men. So it's the cartography, okay? So they're all doing their measurements, triangulations and so on. There's only men. There's white men and there's black men who are carrying all the, the weight and so on. And where are the women? Because there were women there, but they are totally invisible. They were cooking, They were giving support to the team. And so they're totally invisible. It's the same thing. So we need to go to our archives, recover the women, recover really all these lost practices, forgotten practices. It's not only women, it's also preparators, it's technicians, it's students, their contributions to. And I think it's a wonderful time to study history of science now, because you're really motivated, and the context and the departments are really pushing us to study all these lost practices, including material culture.
Yeah, but I really think that when we try to recover hidden women, we really need to find like other characters that are not these brilliant scientists, like everyone. Like really, like the ones who were cooking during an experience, like everyone, like everyone.
And you will, because they are there. They are in the process, in the archives.
Yeah. But it seems that if you are doing this, you are
because you are perpetuating the history of glories, right? The history of the Nobel Prize.
Yes, and. But at the same time, sometimes it's difficult because there are less sources, or it's more difficult to find like sources.
Yeah, there are no sources. Exactly.
But it doesn't make sense.
The archives kind of mirror the culture of the context. So the archives only, include the glories.
Yes.
They also include other things, but we have to dig deeper, and we have to connect more, and there's a lot of work. But we can do it. We can do it.
Yes. Today I was interviewing another woman from Ciència, Sophie Geber from the Technischen Museum from Vienna, and she was talking about all these things like the archive and database and how it's important to recheck and redefine the keywords and thesaurus of all the collection, because the vocabulary is changing all the time, and we need to be. It was like really, really interesting, and I think it's really necessary because
the vocabulary is changing. It's changing like crazy. So to finish off our conversation, which is adorable, I love talking to you. And I hope you come all your stays, you know, Mexico City, Istanbul, whatever. I mean, come on, Lisbon, also a city. To be included in your map. But I wanted to ask about your interest in material culture. So it's a more recent interest, right? As far as I understood. Tell me a little bit more and tell me about how you think that could help us understand the practices and reconstruct our past and understand the practices of science. What do you think? Tell me a little bit more about that.
I think I really want to work on material culture and try to apply like a gender or feminist perspective, because I think that not many people are trying to do it.
No, never saw.
No,
never. Because that's kind of bringing together two marginalized, you know, it's like, okay, not enough marginalized material culture, but you're also going to join another marginalized. So superposition, the Venn diagram must be absolutely amazing. I cannot wait.
Yes, but at the same time, I think it's really important because we know that the objects can tell us many things, and we just need to think like a good question to find out like this information, because they have like a lot of stories, a lot of narratives that can be told with an object. So I really think, and I really hope that I can do something about it. For example, now I have the grant of the Scientific Instrument Society.
Instrument Society, very good.
Yes, so I will be cataloging a high school in Valencia next October, and I think it will be like a good opportunity. I hope, because it's a female high school during the Franco's dictatorship in Spain. And I think it will be really nice because some other high schools in Valencia has been already cataloged, and they are like male high schools.
The comic project. The comic project, which was done where everyone was involved. Pepper,
Bartomeu, everyone.
Jose Jamon, everyone was involved in that wonderful project, one pioneer project.
Yes, so that's we want to continue with this project. So our catalogation will be in comic, but then also I think it will be nice maybe to check if can we find the same objects. Maybe just for the it's not research, but for teaching. Maybe we are using different objects for teaching women than men. For example, for the moment we know that.
You mean institutos that are only for women?
Only for women, like for girls, like.
So is physics different if it's taught in a college, in a school, only for women or for men?
Or maybe we are like teaching more something related in chemistry, maybe, because you need to know how to do your own soap for cleaning your house. Like this will be like really stereotype, but maybe we can find like more.
And how material evidence really illuminates, brings light into that question. I think that's a very good question.
But also, I don't know, maybe the size of the instruments, maybe the height of the instruments, because I don't know if we need to take into account that girls sometimes like maybe can have like less strong at some point. So maybe are they adapting these instruments, or I don't know, maybe the position of something. So I don't know, maybe.
So you don't have any preconceived ideas. You're just going to explore, like, fishing for some pattern, maybe.
Maybe
that's fantastic. I want to do a seminar as soon as you have some results.
Okay, I'm happy to participate. Because I don't know. For example, not the only, but one of the only person that I know that are doing something not similar, but with the same idea. Maybe it's Maria Rentezzi, that she's working on the gender of objects, and maybe she was looking the size of the gloves that we're
Yeah.
using in the
labs. In the labs.
So maybe I don't
or
know. Maybe
the white coats, or the size
yes,
of the white
and
coat.
all these things. So maybe we can try like somehow, or maybe we can also have a look on the sides of use. Maybe the women, I don't know, they need to take something. They need really to grab it more because they are more small, because the instrument is made because of male thinking. So maybe we can observe like something different there.
Some variation, It's
like a
some gender variation.
Maybe, yes.
Maybe we'll see.
Yes,
oh, that's very interesting.
I think
I cannot wait. Look, Mar, I cannot wait. I look forward to, not only more fem science interviews, and I recommend everyone to go and check them out because they're great. But also these new avenues of research that you are exploring. And I think they're very fresh, they're very new history of science. And so I think they're very exciting. Thank you so much, Mar. And I hope to see you soon in Lisbon, if not in Lisbon, anywhere else in the world. But I hope you choose one day to come and do an internship with us at the museum. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you so much.
You very much.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for, let me see if there's a question. Wait.
Yes. Yes, no, if someone has any question, they can send me an email. So I will send you, if not Marta, and then.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say goodbye to everyone for now. Bye. And I hope to see you next seminar in July. Bye-bye. Okay.